Szechuan and Mandarin cuisine at the Great Wall Restaurant. Enjoy favorites like Peking duck, mushu pork, and fish fillet and ginger sauce. Find them at 4515 France Avenue South or call 952-927-4439 for takeout and visit greatwallrestaurant.us for more.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, in the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, and in the nighttime hours, 11:50 a.m. KKNW in Seattle. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Tuesday. Good to have you with us today, Matt. Patrick here today. Brett will be stopping on in here. Patrick Cooligan coming in from the Minnesota Reformer in the 4 o'clock hour here. And boy, oh boy, an atrocious day in American society, but who can deny the fact that eggs are now 75 cents a dozen? Oh, man, isn't that fantastic?
I filled up for 50 cents a gallon this morning. It was glorious.
It was amazing because these are the things that all were guaranteed going to happen on day one. That this is Trump. He made these promises over and over and over again. And as a matter of fact, all you Trump voters, you keep talking about eggs and stuff. So, you must be tickled pink because eggs are as cheap as pennies now. Oh, a dozen for 12 cents. Who could not enjoy that, huh? Oh, and what was your favorite moment with the Ukraine war? Because that's over, completely over. Once again, day one, stopping that completely. All he had to do was make 2 or 3 phone calls and finish. That was it. That was all he was going to do, man. Oh, none of that stuff came to fruition. The groceries aren't cheaper either. Oh, groceries aren't 5 cents a bag full nowadays. That didn't happen. It's almost like he completely and totally lied you guys so that you'd be stupid enough to put him into power so he could start this authoritarian fascism state. It's almost like that's exactly what happened. And considering how many Republicans over the last month have been screaming at me, eggs, Matt, eggs. The fact that, you must be livid that he clearly lied to you. And that as you insist, only reason I voted for him was because of eggs, Matt. Eggs, Matt, eggs. How many eggs you eat in a day? Never mind. I guess you're chowing down egg after egg after egg like a raccoon. Oh God. Yeah. No, he did not lower the price of eggs or gas or stop the Ukraine war or make groceries affordable on day one, as he promised over and 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 over again. He didn't do it. You must be livid because you guys got played. I mean, you got played like a fiddle, man. You dumb, stupid idiots who voted for this guy. Who day one couldn't be true. We got piles of eggs. They're going to be stacked up like classified documents in the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago, man. Idiots. All you need to know about what happened, what really was going on, is Elon Musk yesterday when, Johnny Nazi over there did a Nazi. It's not like he did one Nazi salute. He actually saluted twice. Good old-fashioned Nazi salutes. Not good. Old-fashioned. Evil. I think it was a Vanity Fair pointed this out. If a person did not mean to make a Nazi salute, but made something that looked a lot like a Nazi salute in front of a giant crowd and a worldwide television audience, a logical first step to clarifying the situation might be denying that the gesture was a Nazi salute. Elon Musk has not done that. Instead, he called the characterization of a certain Zig Heil flavored gesture he made multiple times in a bizarre indoor inauguration parade for newly sworn in felon-in-chief Trump Monday afternoon so tired. He included a snoozy emoji app in case the extra O's were not doing it for anyone. Musk responded Monday evening in the brouhaha over the full arm gesture, which he's a Nazi. I mean, he made him a Nazi salute. I mean, the extras in Sound of Music only wish they were that good. It's like watching Springtime for freaking Hitler. My God. It was a Nazi salute. Watching Elaine Stefanik today defend it. That wasn't a Nazi salute. Well, then you're a Nazi sympathizer. If you do not think what Elon Musk did was a Nazi salute, the only thing I can say is then you're a freaking Nazi sympathizer. Because as a guy that was stationed in Germany, yeah, that was a Nazi salute, man. I mean, Hitler would be proud of that salute. Ugh. Musk responded Monday evening to the brouhaha, the full arm gesture, which he made multiple times on the stage at Capitol and Arena, but didn't offer a 9 to the Nazi accusations. Frankly, they need better dirty tricks, he wrote. The everyone is Hitler attack is so tired. The thing is, people weren't calling him Hitler. They were saying he was making a gesture people who really dig Hitler typically make. It would be easy to just plainly say that it wasn't the intention, but Musk has not said that. He basically has attacked people for pointing out he did a Nazi salute. You guys wanted it, and don't get me wrong. I know there's a lot of people that voted for Republicans that's indeed why you did vote for them. You love the Nazi stuff. You want to go back to, you start your own little Fourth Reich here, going on with it. And you sure seem to have the characters in place. But that was a Nazi salute, dude. The other thing which was pretty interesting was they're trying to say that this was autism, that Elon Musk has autism. Now, I've seen some of the video of him in the crowd at this inauguration. He's got something, but I think it's not, I think it's something he's taken. Because he seriously seemed like he was out of it at certain points. But they're trying to say he didn't do a Nazi salute. It was autism. Because, I mean, and as a friend of mine who has a child with autism, he said, my kid has autism. I have never seen my child running around the house cosplaying a Nazi. That just does not happen. That was not, you're insulting actual autism people who are people who have autism by trying to say it's autism. It's not. Someone pointed out as well, it's pretty interesting that the first big discourse for the anti-woke and the victim mentality era is a bunch of conservatives being basically pushing forth all this sympathy for poor autistic Elon Musk. No, that wasn't autism. That was a Nazi salute. And it's kind of par for the course for the dude. If you've read anything about the guy, you can't necessarily be surprised that all of a sudden he went full Zig Heil on that sucker. But yeah, this is what you voted for. Yesterday was, as I had to talk, and I am not joking, probably 30 people, listeners, friends, family members off the ledge yesterday. This was a dark day in American history for many different reasons. And anyone that tried their hardest during the campaign to say, well, he's not really going to do all that, had a fairly rude awakening that, yeah, he indeed is trying to do all of that. And as a matter of fact, all this stuff about he's not going to have a trade war. It sounds like he definitely, February 1st is going to put a, massive tariff on Chinese, Canadian, and Mexican products, which once again, China, Mexico, and Canada are not going to pay those tariffs. That's going to be the, people paying for the product. But once again, stupid. He's a stupid man. And of course, these other countries, our biggest trade partners in China, Canada, and Mexico, are going to retaliate against us. It's not like they're going to just roll over and allow us to basically, take control. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons why Justin Trudeau is gone in Canada is because people felt like he was being too soft-handed with Trump. They want to defend the Canadian independence, so they're going to. And frankly, the rest of the world likes Canada better than us anyway at this point. They do. So they're not going to have too much problem. As a matter of fact, I'm in Minnesota right now, and if I'm an ag producer in Minnesota, where a good portion of your market is Canada, whether that's dairy or grains or soybeans, whatever the case may be, I am scared to death because right now it's going to be 4 years before there's another president. And yeah, nope. They're going to long be gone. Your buyers in Canada are going to be long gone. They're going to be long gone. They're going to have new contracts with Brazil and Argentina and Mexico and Europe and Australia and New Zealand. They're going to have brand new. If you are in Washington, listening on Seattle out there at KKNW, and you're an ag person out there, they're not going to be buying your product. They're going to be getting it shipped in from Argentina and from Africa. You're going to lose your trade market. And your quality of life and all that stuff is going to go away. Because you idiots sat there, because the most important thing for all of you was not making your life better. Far from it. Your main goal this election cycle was to cause other people pain. That's it. Whether it's immigrants coming into this country, it's the LGBTQ community because you don't like it, whether it was people who are making more money than you, like a teacher that's getting a better wage or a union worker that's got a pension and a benefits. No, you no longer vote for your own well-being. You vote to hurt other people and bring them down to you in a pathetic attempt to make yourself feel better. That's what's going on. And it's sad because you have effed over all of us, and especially yourselves. But eggs, man. Eggs. Yeah. What was that promise again? All right. Day one, cheap eggs. Day one, I don't see the cheap eggs, man. Oh, that's right. Donald Trump has said I can't really do that. Oh, idiots. Idiots. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Connections Radio Show is all about tapping into our hardwired hunger to connect. We examine meaningful connections to ourselves, our community, and the world around us. By opening the door to innovative insights by a wide variety of interesting guests, we'll make the connections to something bigger than ourselves. Join me, Lori Fitz, your host of Connections Radio Show, and together we'll make the connections. Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Chronic diseases, often pervasive and long-lasting, undeniably pose difficult challenges. At Hypercharge Wellness, we recognize the pressing need for integrative solutions that complement medical treatments, ensuring a true holistic approach. We've harnessed physician-directed, evidence-based modalities to promote well-being, symptom alleviation, and improve quality of life for those struggling with chronic conditions, including autoimmune diseases, fibromyalgia, migraine, dementia, and more. Chronic diseases present complex interplay of immunological, genetic, and environmental factors. While managing these these conditions, integrating non-invasive evidence-based modalities can offer a significant improvement in one's quality of life. At Hypercharge, we prioritize cutting-edge therapies tailored to target the root cause of these disorders. Experience a free introductory session at Hypercharge Wellness at your convenient locations based in Maple Grove, Eden Prairie, and Woodbury. This is your opportunity to feel the difference for yourself. Call or schedule online for your free introductory session valued at $200 today. Visit hyperchargeclinic.com now. Hypercharge is hope.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence, and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hi, I'm Bruce Klopfleisch, a college political science instructor and attorney. Join me every Sunday at 5 p.m. for Politics Matters. We dive into how civics, politics, and law affect you. Discover how government impacts your daily life from the federal level all the way down to your local city. Each week, I'll share my key takeaways and teaching moments on crucial civics concepts to help understand what is happening in the current political environment. That's Politics Matters with Bruce Klopfleisch, Sundays at 5 p.m. or anytime on your favorite podcast app.
The Matt McNeil Show, good to be with you today. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. Let's go to Nancy calling us from Bloomington. Hi, Nancy. How are you today?
Hi, Matt. I'm as well as can be expected, I guess.
Yeah.
You've kind of moved on for this, but I just wanted to make a comment that these people who are defending Elon Musk are the same ones who criticized Gus Walz for getting emotional about his dad. And I am so fed up with them. I've just been sputtering for the last 24 hours, so I won't make you listen to that. But it's they can excuse anything President Musk does, but poor little Gus Walz loves his dad, and that's horrible as far as they're concerned.
Nancy, excellent point. Thank you very much for the phone call. And we'll get through this. We will. I appreciate it. Gus Walz has a nonverbal learning disorder, ADHD, and anxiety, and they all went and attacked him because they're horrible. Because they're horrible people who are not Christians. Horrible people. And now all of a sudden, well, Elon Musk, he's a little child, man. He's a little kid. How can sure, it looked a lot like he was doing the Nazi salute, but come on, there's got to be some excuse you can accept to justify us ignoring the fact that he clearly did a Nazi salute. Yeah, exactly. Let's run through the cavalcade of horrors from yesterday, shall we? Trump issued a presidential proclamation commuting the sentence of 14 individuals charged with crimes related to the riot at the U.S. Capitol. The proclamation also granted pardons to all other individuals convicted of offenses related to events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January 6th. The Trump also ordered the Attorney General to pursue dismissal with prejudice the government from all pending indictments against individuals for their conduct. Basically, you can beat a cop legally in this country as long as it was Donald Trump who told you to do it, or that your cause is a right-wing one. Now, I understand that guys like, in the state of Minnesota, the Republican congressional members like Michelle Fischbach and Pete Stubby Stauber and Tom Emmer and Opie down in the 1st District, that they're going to sit there and like, wait a second, that's not what I was for. Yeah, it was. Shut up. Shut up, all 4 of you clown cars. Shut up. It was what you were for. He kept saying this on the campaign trail. Gonna pardon them all. Gonna pardon them all. They're political prisoners, shouldn't be held. Even though we have plenty of video evidence, they assaulted the police. They've been convicted of assaulting the police. And he kept saying he was going to let him go. And you are the ones who are saying, oh, he's not serious. And you did this to yourself to try to justify your vote for someone who was about to do something that was indefensible. Pete Stauber is for cops being abused. Michelle Fischbach is for cops being abused. Tom Emmer is for cops being abused. Opie Down in One is for cops being abused. And if they say, oh, no, I'm not, well, where's your letter of outrage to President Trump? Oh, that's right. It doesn't exist, you cowards. Oh, my outrage is in the silence of my heart. Shut up. You knew he was going to do this. You voted for him anyway. You enabled him. You're pro-assaulting of cops. And by the way, what does this mean? It basically means if you're a police officer right now, they can assault you, bear spray you, hit you with a hockey stick. They can taser you. They can hit you with a shovel or a rake or a pitchfork. Or they can shoot you. And as long as they feel as if Donald Trump told me to do it, or that the reason, the justification for them assaulting a cop is basically a right-wing one, well, they've now been told that's okay in this country. And if you dare look at me and say, that's not what he said, what did he say? That people that assaulted police officers who have been convicted with evidence of assaulting police officers, the organizers who basically drove the people there to assault police officers, all of them are walking away scot-free. What did he say? If it's not, oh yeah, you can beat some cops as long as it's under a Republican guise, as long as it's under a Trump order, you can beat cops. And I'm sure every Republican, well, that's not what we're for. Is it not? Because I don't hear you guys upset about this at all. I'm a veteran of the United States. This was an attack on our country. And basically, this would be as if after Pearl Harbor, the United States went to Japan and saying, you know what? It's our fault. We should have never built that military base in Hawaii. It is. You guys basically, because you're cowards. He said he was going to do this. You are the ones who kept like, he's not going to do that. And he does. And I can't wait for I was personally against that. All right, show me your letter that you sent to the Trump White House explaining how frustrated you are that he let a bunch of police, abusers go. Show me it. Where's your letter? Where's your email? Where's your text? Where is your Twitter or Truth post? Where is it? The silence of my heart. Shut up. No, you voted for Trump. You voted for this. You did. I am not going to let you scatter away from this, you rats, you stupid idiots who voted for this. He kept saying he was going to do this, and now all of a sudden he did it. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I kind of look like I'm pro-assaulting cops. No, you don't kind of look like it. You are. And I feel sorry for the police officers of this country because they have snuggled on up to the Republican Party, and the Republican Party just basically told them, hey, as long as you get the impression Trump is telling you to do it, as long as you get the impression it's a right-wing cause, hey, police are fair game. What did you guys think you were voting for? Joe Biden? What did you think you were voting for? This angers me so much. This was an attack on our country. This was an attack on democracy. And I guarantee you, many of these guys have run out. They're getting guns, and they're waiting for the next order. Go attack those police officers. Go attack that government building. Go attack that state. And when the state patrol or the county sheriff or the local police jurisdiction gets in the way and some of their guys get beaten or killed, just know down deep inside, you're not going to have backup from the Republicans. They're going to call you whiny little people who should have gotten out of the way. You voted for Trump. You voted to basically be able to assault cops as long as it's under the orders of Trump or it's for a right-wing cause. That's what you did. That's what you did. And don't try to wipe the stink of this off. No, eggs don't count, and they're not cheap anyway. You win. You applauded this. You cheered this the entire election campaign. And now it's come to fruition. And now all of a sudden you want to look like you're nuanced and not nearly the hack that you are. Shame on all of you. Shame on all of you. Hey, I don't believe you should be able to assault cops. But hey, what do you know? I'm a loony lib. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
You run your mouth, I ran a mile, I've heard it all.
Did you know Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken airs 5 nights a week at 10 p.m.? That's 5 nights of talking about ghosts, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. We're talking about the paranormal every Monday through Friday with some of the most trusted names in the field. Join us and step into the unknown with Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken, Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Only if you dare.
Do you have a vehicle you no longer need? Are you a little cash-strapped? Rudy Luther Toyota will pay you for your used vehicle. It's really simple. Head to rudyluthertoyota.com, answer a few simple questions, and Rudy Luther Toyota will get you an instant offer. Then they will set up an appointment, and after a quick verification, they will handle all the paperwork and coordinate getting you your check. It's that simple. It's a fast way for you to get rid of the vehicle you no longer need, putting money in your hands. For more information, head to rudyluthertoyota.com. That's rudyluthertoyota.com.
Hey, it's Patrick. Your friends and family may be gone now, but the messes that were left behind on your carpets, rugs, upholstery, and more remain. That's why you need to call My Cleaning Heroes at Zero Res and get 2024 out of your house for good. That's why to start the new year, Zero Res is offering 24% off all cleaning services for the month of January. That's 24% off carpets, tiles, rugs, upholstery, any surface in your home, and don't forget about your air ducts. Call Zero Res right now at 952-ZERO-RES or visit ZeroResMinnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. But Zero Res isn't just good for cleaning up the post-holiday messes at home. They can make your business look great too. Zero Res was out at the station this fall, and we couldn't have been happier with their quality of work and their professionalism, and the station looks great. So don't wait. Book your home cleaning today. Call 952-ZERO-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. Zero Res.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Hello, everyone. This is Becky McNatten
and Tara Martini,
hosts of Feels Out Loud.
Join us this Sunday as we process through feelings out loud, what it means and looks like to share of ourselves with others, and the impact to us when we don't. We also want to hear your questions about feeling out loud. Email us at comment@am950radio.com, and we may share your questions on the show.
This Sunday, grab your coffee, find a comfortable spot to relax, and tune in at 9 a.m. to live and share mental health with us together.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies today with a high near 9, tonight cloudy with a temp rising to 14, and Wednesday partly cloudy with a high near 27. Discover delicious Szechuan and Mandarin cuisine at the Great Wall Restaurant. Enjoy favorites like Peking duck, mushu pork, and fish fillet and ginger sauce. Find them at 4515 France Avenue South or call 952-927-4439 for takeout and visit greatwallrestaurant.us for more.
Broadcasting in the evening, WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk. In the nighttime hours, 11:50 a.m., KKNW in Seattle, and of course at AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Tuesday. And yeah, I'm a little fired up, but you know what? Someone's got to be, and we're all fired up. As a matter of fact, I think I'm like a lot of people out there, that I am sitting here and I'm just wondering how in the world does this even happen? I mean, how does it get this bad, right out of the gate, where there's just none whatsoever, ramp up to this. We all knew it was going to be bad. It's stunning to see it all just because his team was waiting there with every perverse rule, every letter, everything ready to go. And they wanted to go on out there, and this country's already headed off the cliff. And he pardoned everybody from January 6th, even the guys who proudly attacked the cops. He pardoned them all. Unbelievable. All the ringleaders. God. There's stuff like that, and then there's other stuff too that's gone on, that's going to go on here, and I'm going to reiterate something I've said before. I am on some levels, I think I am a target for what I do. Hey, Trump sucks. That sort of thing, that what I just said. That at some point here, I'm starting to become prepared for, jackbooted thugs to kick open the station door and arrest me under false charges. And whether or not you'll hear from me again, maybe I get marched into a soccer stadium. I don't know. But I'm kind of coming to grips with that is actually probably a likely thing, is that at some point they're probably going to turn their attentions on people like myself, John Fugelsang, Patty Vasquez, people here that are out there, speaking the truth. But I also know that aside, this is not going to be as bad for me. Why? Because I am a white, male, straight Christian man. I am not in their sight lines. But they have their sight lines. Trump signed an order officially recognizes only two sexes, male and female, which would be defined based on the reproduction cells at conception. He directed agencies to issue government documents showing people's sex at conception, stop using gender identity or preferred pronouns, maintain women-only spaces in prisons and shelters. The measure directs the Attorney General to write new policies concerning the 2020 Supreme Court ruling Bostock versus Clayton County, which found sex discrimination in employment includes gender identity and sexual orientation. So basically saying find a way around it so that's not the case. It also directs the Bureau of Prisons to ensure that no federal funds are expended for any medical procedures, treatment, or drug for the purpose of conforming an inmate's appearance to that of the opposite sex. That's not just going after the non-existent, transgender sports issue, which is, once again, really is a non-factor. I mean, as time and time again, they've had, how many times has this happened? And they can't find one. But in case, and I want to make sure we understand, Republicans have spent millions of dollars passing laws in this country for a non-existent problem in many of these states. But what you're doing is, I keep thinking about Interstellar, the movie Interstellar. And if you ever watch the movie, and I'm not going to ruin it for you, but at the beginning of the movie, Matthew McConaughey has to go to a school meeting for his daughter. And they basically talk about how that she brought an old school book in that says that the NASA went to the moon, and basically say we all know that was a lie now, which it wasn't. But because people wanted it to be a lie, it became a lie. And that's where we're at right now with transgender issues, because transgender is a thing. You can't write a presidential order that just erases a substantial part of American population. You just can't do that. And I think about my friends who are transgender, the community itself, the people who have kids who are dealing with a child in transition. And that the federal government has basically said, you do not exist. And we should talk a little bit about all the implications of this. Because if first and foremost is that it opens the door for them to write federal laws that say transgender people are mentally damaged and need to be locked up for their own good. Until they lock the chickie poos, you're going to jail. Yep, that's coming. That is coming. It also, it could prompt the education department to punish schools that recognize gender identity. For instance, by allowing transgender girls access to girls' bathrooms, locker rooms, or sports teams. It also could affect teachers who in some districts are told to use student-preferred names and pronouns. That's right. The dumbest people in your town are now going to sue your school districts to basically stop those people. And of course, the larger point, this is clearly step one in their full-on attack against the entire LGBTQ population. And you should be prepared for it, because the end game is the same. Take away all rights for gender identity, take away, gay marriage, take away all of that. And if you're gay, then there's something mentally wrong with you. We're going to lock you up. That is what their end game is. Because they are the least Christian human beings this planet has seen in a long time. And their whole goal is built on hate. Hate, 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 hate. And you all voted for it because it was more important for you to see transgender people and the LGBTQ population suffer than it was to see your own lives get better. You did this, you're idiots. And bigots, let's be honest. I am sorry to the transgender community. I think about Caitlyn Jenner, who's one of the biggest Trump supporters, basically being told, no, you're Bruce Jenner now. As far as the federal government goes, as far as the president of the United States goes, you're not Caitlyn Jenner, you're Bruce Jenner, and you're a man. Funny, up until about, I think the last time I checked was about 1 o'clock or so, Caitlyn Jenner hasn't really said anything yet. After defending Trump left and right. So there's that abomination. Then there's this, and I mean, the U.S. government will no longer recognize the citizenship of children born in the United States to immigrants who lack legal status, according to one Trump order signed on Monday. I've talked about this a few weeks back, that the idea of that we came here, you just need to come here like we came here legally. Now, it's laughable. And we talked about that this idea that if you were, I mean, there are so many right-wing Republicans who sit here and they'll talk about their great-grandpappy was the first of our family born in the United States. More than likely, by the standards we have today, at least one, if not both of their parents would have been here illegally. At best, back then, you wrote your name down on a list, got on a boat, and they checked your name off the list there, but they had no photo ID. There was no law firm. There was no lawyer. There was no court appearance. There was no reams of paperwork and memorizing things. No, you just came here. And in many cases, if there was no one at the dock, they just wandered on into the country. That's what it used to be like. And so when you sit there and you say, I want them to do it like my ancestors did, all right, fine. Let them, if you're too stupid to understand how things used to be, then don't talk authoritatively about them, you morons. Okay? But that's what it was. All these people are like, my great-great-grandpappy was from Germany, and he was the first one born here. More than likely to one or two parents who are here illegally or shady at best. But that's who's making this law now. And once again, it's only about brown people. Whether you're Hispanic, Latino, African, Indian, not Native American, but from India. No. You are not welcome here. Not like their Aryan purebred white people race. No. The government will no longer recognize the citizenship of children born in the United States to immigrants who lack legal status, according to a Trump order signed on Monday. By the way, isn't there an amendment on this? Yeah, we'll get to that. It also bars birthright citizenship for children born to people in temporary work, student, and tourist visas. The order, which is expected to face legal scrutiny, already has been sued by, I think, 21 states at this point, reinterprets the words "and subject to the jurisdiction thereof" in the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which grants citizenship to nearly all people born in the U.S. soil to exclude babies born of parents illegally in the country. Now, we already know Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas have already gotten their RVs and their 5-star vacations. They're already in the can for Trump. And Alito's probably running around trying to do the big sell. We'll make sure we get this passed here. But even that Supreme Court has got to realize if they basically allow a president through an executive order to undermine a constitutional amendment, that, first of all, it's going to be one of the worst rulings in the history of the Supreme Court. A ruling which will go down in infamy a la Dred Scott. But as well, you do realize eventually you're going to have to deal with a Democrat who says, oh, by the way, let's revisit the language in the Second Amendment. And then all of a sudden, the same Supreme Court who sat there and said, the Supreme Court is an absolute, you can't blah, 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 blah. The same Supreme Court is going to sit there and basically say, well, you can't question the amendment. How dare you question an amendment, Democrat? Exactly. The stories you're hearing with these immigration crackdown, oh my God. U.S. military family members from Afghanistan are not able to get here. You have kids from Afghanistan just trying to get here to see parents. They were at the airport yesterday morning and they were told they couldn't come over. You have the borders where people had appointments to come across the border legally shut down. It is a nightmare. We are headed for Aryan Nation. Once again, cue Elon Musk. Dear Lord. President ordered federal workers to come back to their offices. The action Trump signaled directs agency heads to take all necessary steps to terminate remote work arrangements and require employees to return to work in person at the respective duty. Hey, you want to get rid of people in the government workforce? That alone, I mean, my God, that's like a standard, perk now of work. And now they're saying, no, if you want to work for the federal government, you can't work remotely. All right. Trump also issued a freeze on federal hiring with exceptions for military personnel and jobs related to immigrant enforcement, national security, or public safety. He reinstated a policy that would strip employment protections for tens of thousands of federal workers. Trump stripped those protections in his first term in office, and Biden reinstated them. Another memorandum is aimed at restoring accountability for career senior executives in the federal government. The memo directs his administration to issue new performance plans for senior government officials who are not political appointees and reassign officials to ensure they are optimally assigned aligned for implementation of his agenda. A different order makes changes to the federal government's hiring plan. Trump also signaled that order calls for the elimination of government diversity programs that includes termination of all federal offices and positions related to DEI, which is what Jesus would want. Jesus was very pro diversity, equity, and inclusion, but hey, heaven forbid we tell the Christians that. The order also directs his administration to review which federal contractors have provided DEI training materials to federal workers and which federal funding guarantees have been given funds to advance DEI and environmental justice. So basically, back to, we're white people and you're going to do what I want. Like I said, this is the same administration that was kicking around the idea that the first rape would be a misdemeanor. Seriously, members of the Trump administration wanted to actually have an executive order which basically said you could not charge someone for rape the first time around under criminal penalties. It had to be labeled as a misdemeanor because, a mulligan. Not saying we are for raping people, but, sometimes the chickie poo changes her mind. You know what I mean? She shouldn't have been dressed like that. Where's the aspirin between her knees? Exactly. Yeah, this is atrocious, man. And every Republican voted for this because he said he was going to do it. And he said it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And they all again, yay! And now here we are. And it's being done. And some of this stuff, I'm sure Republicans are going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But the reality is, there's a lot of them that are now trying to eggs, Matt. By the way, let's check. Yep, eggs are still expensive in this country, and Trump will not change that. Dummies, you're all idiots. I got some underlying ones I got to touch on when we come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show. I'm seeing you. Are you planning a gathering for your family, friends, or work? Then reserve a space at the Park Tavern. The Park Tavern offers private and semi-private party spaces, and they can accommodate any size party, large or small. They have bowling, food, and beverage packages for any budget. And remember, there are no room fees and no minimum spending requirements. For more information or to schedule your event, call 952-929-6810 or go to parktavern.net. Make your next get-together the best get-together with help from the Park Tavern.
Do you have a loved one who is not receiving the care that they deserve at their current memory care facility? I'm Aiden Helene, Director of Community Relations here at the Welshire, and I meet with families every single day who are struggling with poor staffing, missed medications, poor personal cares, and an absence of engagement from consistent activities. 85% of our residents at the Welshire are coming from other memory care facilities that could not meet their care needs. Not all memory care is created equally. And if this is something your family is experiencing, I encourage you to come visit our community of well-being and see the Welshire difference, where we promise that your loved one will live with pride and dignity. The Welshire has 24/7 nursing, a robust activities team that provides activities 7 days a week. And when the diagnosis takes a 9 to 5 approach, so will we. Book a tour at welshiremn.com and see our community of well-being in action. That's welshiremn.com. Again, that's welshiremn.com.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950 for Snap Construction again. Does your home feel colder than it should with the furnace constantly running? Or do certain rooms always feel colder than the rest of the house? Those are signs the attic in your home may need an insulation upgrade. Snap Construction can help by providing a free energy audit for your home's insulation. The average cost of getting new insulation can cost much less than a new furnace. Plus, Snap Construction is a BPI certified installer. That means if you use Snap for your next insulation project, you qualify for up to $650 in total rebates from your energy provider. After my free inspection, my insulation upgrade was completed within a few weeks and the rebate check was in the mail. Snap to it and reduce your heating bill this winter with Snap Construction. Call 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP for your free energy audit when you mention AM 950. Snap Construction, arguably the most well-reviewed exterior contractor and insulation company in the metro.
Hey everyone, this is longtime AM 950 host Ellie Krug. I'm thrilled to announce my brand new show, The Illegal Trans Woman, which takes advocacy for my community, transgender and gender variant people, up several big notches. The Illegal Trans Woman will feature interviews, commentary, and information aimed at pushing back against efforts to oppress trans and gender variant humans. Please tune in on Saturdays at 4 or wherever you go to get your podcasts. And do me a favor, share about the show. Thanks.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Fired up, and I'm going to be like this for a few years, so let's keep going. There is one of his executive orders which is actually somewhat terrifying. And it's because we talked to Dr. Joe here, our virus and COVID expert. And we've talked about the fact that avian flu is basically one step away from jumping to human. And when that does happen, the death rate for avian flu is far higher than it was for COVID. And so we're going to have a situation when this goes human to human, wherever it starts, it is going to go fast. It is going to be brutal. And you're not going to just have refrigerator trucks outside of morgues in the major cities. You're going to be in the smaller towns, towns of 5,000 people. They're going to have so many dead bodies. They're going to have refrigerator trucks. It is ugly. The president directed his administration to begin taking the steps necessary to withdraw from the World Health Organization. The agency founded by the United Nations to promote health around the world. Trump's action on Monday ordered that notification to be sent to the WHO about the country's intention to withdraw, to stop paying the WHO or providing the organization support or resources, and to reassign any U.S. government employees working there. This isn't the first time Trump has tried to do this. Now, I'm going to just say this. Let's remind ourselves of what Trump was like with COVID. First, he said it was going to be gone by March of 2020. It was going to be over. It was a minor problem. Then he told people to inject bleach. Yeah, it kind of ramped up from there. Then came the jamming of light bulbs and horse dewormer up their backside. That was his medical advice. Then he basically tried to pursue it that he was himself in a lab with a scientific jacket on, devising the vaccine himself. Then when they finally did get a vaccine, reminder, when Biden took over, there was no game plan or infrastructure in place to get the vaccine into the arms of the American people. No, what Trump was doing was basically taking truckloads of vaccine and sending it to Republican areas only, and not rural America, but the like Texas and Florida, where there was high concentrations of Republican voters. They were getting it. And in some cases, it sounds like specifically at Republican functions, they were having vaccine parties for the Republicans only. Then, when he was out of office, he said, vaccines are evil. You should never get a vaccine. COVID's a myth. And that's what he did. Now, that guy is in charge. And if avian flu does make the jump, holy God, are we screwed? Because we're not only not going to have any kind of His government's not going to tell you the truth. He'll call it something like the Biden flu or something like that and say no one's dying. The rest of the world won't have access, won't be able to help us. And even if there are people out there, reminder, Twitter is burying information. TikTok is going to bury information. Facebook and Threads and Instagram, they're going to bury the information. Who's going to put it out there? Well, I guess this show will, but I mean, really? Is it just down to me? Sweet Lord, man. No, I mean, there's the BBC and the Guardian and, places like Heartland Signal and Minnesota Reformer. There's places out there that'll help. Philadelphia Inquirer does a pretty good job. But there's not many places where you're going to be able to find the actual information. And once again, small towns, they're going to have refrigerator trucks back there. And the death rate's going to make COVID look like a common cold, man. Nope, trust me, that leaving the World Health Organization, that's going to have some huge consequences. He revoked the security clearances held by his former national security advisor, John Bolton, and the former intelligence officials who signed a letter claiming the Hunter Biden laptop story on Russian disinformation was indeed a fake story. That's basically saying it doesn't matter what the truth is. If we say a lie, you had better tell everyone it is the 100% truth or else. That is exactly what that is. He granted interim security clearances to certain personnel on the list provided by the White House. So people that couldn't get a security clearance have now been given a security clearance. People that should not have access to our national secrets, who are probably compromised to at least 2 or 3 evil countries, guess what? They're going to make some serious money selling all of our secrets to the foreign governments. They established the Department of Government Efficiency. They're trying to do this, by the way. There's a sneaky thing they're trying to do here. That generally has to go through Congress. But basically, they're trying to rename and reorganize the United States Digital Service as DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. And it probably is not going to work. That one's another lawsuit that's waiting to happen. He did today. Today, he went around with his firing spree. He would fire more than 1,000 presidential appointees who are not aligned with their vision, including some high-profile names. Trump fired chef and humanitarian Jose Andres from the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition, retired General McNeil from the National Infrastructure Advisory Council, former State Department official Brian Hook from the board of Wilson Center, and former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms from the Presidential's Export Council. You're fired, Trump said in his post. His catchphrase from the reality show The Apprentice. 3 major business leaders as well, SoftBank Group CEO, OpenAI CEO, and Oracle Corporation Chairman Larry Ellison, were scheduled to join Trump in the afternoon to announce the creation of a new company called Stargate. Sweet Jesus, really? Yeah, apparently you build a circle. I mean, it's speedy. I mean, you're going a long way. When you're through those flying pyramids, it's going to be awesome. Stargate. I'm not making this up. They're going to start a new company called Stargate, which is going to be deeply tied to the U.S. government, which would invest $500 billion over the next 4 years in AI. Wait a second. I thought you guys were against government spending. Now you're creating a brand new thing and giving $500 billion to 3 mega corporation CEOs to build a Stargate in Texas. Oh, yeah, because of that, if we're going to have aliens coming to this country, I guess good barbecue is where we should start. Dear Lord. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's all I can say. This is crazy town. This is all it is. It's crazy town. And it's going to get worse. And the Republicans are going to do whatever he says. And we can only hope that at some point we can take this country back and realize voting is not a freaking option. Chicago, Seattle. I'll talk to you later. Minneapolis, St. Paul, Hour 2 up next.
Eat Local Minnesota is a great way to find locally owned Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors. You'll find high-quality food and unique eating experiences with dishes from around the world. Just visit eatlocalminnesota.com for your next meal. Crooner's Supper Club offers a classic nightlife experience with 4-star food, drinks, and entertainment. Enjoy local, national, and international artists in the main stage, Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the Belvedere under the stars. Or relax at Maggie's Lounge. There's no reservations or cover charge. Find your perfect concert experience at croonersmn.com. Crooner's Supper Club, where old school charm meets modern nightlife. Cafe Latte combines a cafe dining experience with gourmet quality food. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
temp rising to 14, and Wednesday partly cloudy with a high near 27. Discover delicious Szechuan and Mandarin cuisine at the Great Wall Restaurant. Enjoy favorites like Peking duck, Mushu pork, and fish fillet and ginger sauce. Find them at 4515 France Avenue South or call 952-927-4439 for takeout and visit greatwallrestaurant.us for more.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on your Tuesday. Matt and we got Brett and Patrick there. Hello. Is Patrick, are you okay, or did you just slice yourself? It sounds you're okay. Good. Are you there, Brett?
I didn't slice myself either, but in old school radio days, maybe.
Oh gosh, it's radio's fun.
Don't you miss those days of cutting with wire?
The least technically advanced thing that we do here is the thing we're here for, which is the AM radio station. Everything else is basically like we're flying to Mars, but on a bike. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. I have been doing this for so long, man. My first radio gig, I was editing commercials with razor blades and tape. That's what my gosh, man, playing records. I was playing records on the stations, man. I had a cart deck. I'd had to fire the thing off, and it didn't work. I had to whack it, man. Oh God, the good old days.
Records. I might have trained some people on how to use CD players for future producers. A CD player. What is this?
This is data. This is an analog, or I don't understand what you're doing, Father. Yes, exactly. Hey, President Donald Trump Monday issued a sweeping pardon. Roughly 1,500 defendants charged with conviction in the January 6th attack on the Capitol, including 15 people from Minnesota. Over 140 police officers were assaulted on January 4th, and losses to the Capitol exceeded $2.8 million as a mob of Trump supporters, at his behest, sought to overturn the 2020 election of the now former President Joe Biden. Harry Dunny, former U.S. Capitol Police officer, said in a statement released by Courage for America that the pardons mark a dark day in our history. The decision is a betrayal to the officers who were severely injured and died as a result of the insurrection. Dunn said the decision puts Americans at risk as these violent criminals are returned to their communities. The most violent was Brian Mock of Minneapolis, who was charged and convicted of assaulting 4 police officers during the riot and was sentenced to almost 3 years in prison. Now, I said this at the beginning of the show when I brought this up. What you basically have gotten now is this: as long as it's Trump giving the orders or it's a Republican cause, hey, you can assault a police officer. That's what this says to me, is that as long as it's Trump making the order or it's a Republican cause, that, hey, that's good. Police officers can be abused under those conditions, because this is a travesty. This is an absolute freaking travesty. And I know they're all saying, well, that's not what he meant, but these are the same people that spent the entire election saying, oh, he's not going to pardon the police, people that beat the police officers. He's not going to pardon them. And they all got pardoned.
And I think I saw one of the police officers who was assaulted that day very upset about the fact that many of the very people who did assault him directly are now being released from prison. Yep. I would be infuriated too if I were him.
Well, and these people have sort of said they're going to go get guns. And would I have any doubt in my mind that at least 2 or 3 of those people are going to go out there and try to get some of these police officers that they basically almost killed before? Not in the least bit. Not in the least bit. That is, and you can say, if you're a Republican, well, I didn't vote for that. Yes, you did. He said he was going to do it the entire time. You were the ones that kind of tried to keep validating that your vote by saying, oh, he's not going to do that, as Trump is saying, yes, I am. I'm going to do it. And he did. And you still voted for him. This is on you. You guys are pro-assaulting police officers. And that's just that. There's no debating that. You are pro-assaulting police officers because you voted for this and he said he was going to do it. I mean, it's just, gosh, yesterday was I had a lot of people I was talking off the ledge yesterday. I mean, part of me, I said, I don't know what to say, because this next year is going to be the worst year, because they know that most of the people that vote are complete and total freaking morons that won't remember a damn thing that happens. No one will remember by the time we get to the next election that Donald Trump just pardoned all the police abusers from January 6th. No one will remember that. No one will remember he got out of the World Health Organization. They won't remember that. So this is their window to kill Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, kill it all, give the money to the millionaires and billionaires, and basically say, the heck with you, and then basically convince people next election cycle, it needs to be named McKinley, not Denali. That's the big concern. Forget about anything else we've done. if you're not pro McKinley, then you're anti-American. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm right with you. This is a very dangerous year to 18-month period before they hopefully will maybe ramp things down a little bit as election approaches. But yeah, this is not going to be a good time as they're going to push through, as you said, every bad thing they want to do. They're going to do it in the next year, or year and a half.
And the Republicans seem to be 100% on board with it. And of course, the problem is we got a news media that runs interference for them. And they basically have the ability to say, well, that's not what I meant, even though it's what they meant. 100%. And that, Democrats can sit out there and explain their policies at length for hours, and they'll still say, we're not sure what they're saying. Republicans can say, hey, yeah, when I voted to basically for the guy that basically said he was going to pardon the guys that abuse the police officers? No, I didn't. Oh, good enough. He said he didn't. So it did, even though he clearly did. Yeah. This is not going to get better either. An Environmental Protection Agency sent a notice of violation to Keetac iron ore mine and pellet plant, which released wastewater with sulfide levels higher than the permitted amount 299 times in the nearby waters between September 2019 and September 2022. The plant is currently asking state regulators to allow sulfide levels in Hay Lake downstream of the plant to remain 8 times higher than the standard. MPCA has called the request scientifically indefensible. The EPA and the MPCA have repeatedly been at odds over pollution violations in recent years, with the federal agency typically taking a more stringent approach than the state agency. That might change with a incoming presidential administration vowing to basically, well, they're not going to have the EPA. So, yeah, I guess I hope you like your lake water chunky. Hay Lake is going to be like swimming in hay.
That was going to be my next question. Are the feds going to get involved with this or not get involved? And it sounds like that's going to be ugly with the new administration.
Yes. Breathing exercises, man. Breathing exercises. There's just no way around it. We're all going to be, what was your reaction when you saw the litany of things yesterday? Was you're like, oh my God.
I was kind of expecting a lot of these things to come through simply because I actually believe what Donald Trump says when he says he's going to do something.
we hearers like it says advertised, man. And I knew it was coming, but I still was stunned by the breadth of it.
I think the biggest thing that shocked me was still the pardoning of 1,500 people on January 6th. I knew he was going to pardon some of them, but not nearly all of them. That was pretty stunning.
People that are beating cops with sticks. You see those? Those people are not walking away scot-free. Basically, Donald Trump has said as long as he orders it, or if it's for a Republican cause, you can beat a cop in the United States and he'll get you off scot-free. That's scary.
Yeah, the other ones were concerning to me.
The transgender one was
pardoning all of the insurrectionists. Yeah, that one really shocked me the most.
And this was a minor one, all things considered. But, in the weeks leading up to election, there was kind of a hubbub that a bunch of red states said, we're going to raise our flags to full staff, and kind of dishonor Jimmy Carter, during the period of mourning. Well, Trump gets into office and he issued an order basically to celebrate himself, to say, hey, all you guys who aren't going to raise your flags, I'm ordering you to raise your flags.
I know a lot of people didn't, which is good. I'm glad they did. I found it's interesting, these same people who for the last 4 years, I don't know if you've noticed this, but the conservatives have talked about states' rights. The states' rights, man. States' rights. How dare the federal government try to intervene? This is about states' rights. Funny story. A lot of them yesterday, all of a sudden, were the federal government really is the final authority on everything, and they're the ones that should make all the decision. I see.
Well, it depends on which party's in the federal government.
I see. Yeah. Brace yourself. This is going to get a lot uglier. I'm grateful we're in Minnesota. We'll talk more about this a little bit later on. We're grateful in Minnesota because we do have, some state protections here that will kind of keep us a little safer, but there's going to be an all-out war against the blue states. And would I be surprised if they tried to find some way to arrest Governor Walz and install some shrieking harpy of a Republican into the governor's office to issue law and pass a bunch of laws and give all the tax dollars to millionaires and billionaires, and then basically say, okay, now you can have the government back. I could easily see them trying to do that. Easily.
Yeah, they could come up with some reason to say, well, Governor Walz didn't follow this federal policy, and that warrants him being removed from office. Minnesota's now a federal territory for X amount of time.
Yeah, I could see
Not out
that.
of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah. Oh, brace yourselves. Just brace. I mean, and there, I wish I could put a ray, a ray of sunshine on this whole thing. I wish I could. I wish it could be puppy dogs and rainbows. It's not. This is going to be horrible. We've been saying it. We're not the ones who are sitting there saying, hey, wait a second. I got that story. I got to talk about the story about the farmers out there. It's like, hey, wait a second. Most of my grain goes to Canada. Does it? Wow. Maybe you should have listened to this show because we would have told you a long time ago, you don't want to do this, man. But hey, it's not on us, man. It's not on us. Unfortunately, it's going to affect us all. And some of us a lot worse than others. We'll get to that. As a matter of fact, Patrick Cooligan from the Minnesota Reformer, you have your usual visit with him. What's up? What's he into today?
Yeah, we're talking about all the legal proceedings that are determining who's going to control the state legislature, and not just the House of Representatives, but also on the Senate side as well. As Nicole Mitchell was having her trial delayed until the end of session, so it looks like she'll, at least for now, be staying in the state Senate and potentially keeping the DFL in the majority, depending on that special election, which is a very blue seat. We're also going to be talking about what's happening in the state House in terms of this Supreme Court ruling that's going to be coming probably in the coming weeks as to whether Republicans had a quorum or not. And I'm thinking they probably didn't, and they probably are not legally in session. We'll talk about that, as well as this crazy story from Polk County up in northwest Minnesota about how they are arresting people at an alarming rate for drug violations in what's called drug-free zones. It's just absolutely insane what's happening, where basically almost half of all drug-free zone arrests are happening in Polk County, even though it only represents about 0.5% of the entire state of Minnesota. We're going to talk about that with Patrick. There's a lot more detail with it, and yeah, you'll want to give that a listen.
All right, and once again, Minnesota Reformer still one of the few remaining quality news outlets here in the country. Patrick Cooligan with Brett right here on AM 950.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Brett Johnson joining you here on a Tuesday afternoon. And as usual on Tuesdays, we are joined by the editor-in-chief of the Minnesota Reformer. That's Patrick Cooligan, as we talk about some of the stories that they've been working on at the Reformer, as well as some of the big political news. Make sure you go to minnesotareformer.com for the best in Minnesota news and politics. Again, minnesotareformer.com. As today, we are going to be talking about a number of court cases that could determine control of the Minnesota State House of Representatives and even the state Senate. Plus, we'll be talking about these high number of arrests in drug-free zones that are happening in Polk County, Minnesota, in the northwestern portions of the state. So lots to get to today. Patrick, thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. So let's start off working our way through some of these court cases that have been
totally confused all your listeners, but that is kind of the situation in a nutshell as we go into the oral arguments on Thursday to determine whether or not a quorum in the Minnesota House is 67 or 68.
Yeah, we've only been talking about two of the court cases. There's actually a third we're going to get to in just a few minutes, but I want to back up and talk about that Curtis Johnson race. Again, he's the guy that was that one election in that Roseville seat, but then was later found out that he didn't actually live in that Roseville district and therefore was ineligible to serve because the Minnesota Supreme Court did cancel a special election that was called by Governor Tim Walz that would have taken place on January 28th, but they ruled that Walz wrongly called for the election on December 27th, even though state law requires him to wait until after the beginning of the legislative session, which of course happened back in early January as opposed to December 27th when Walz called the special election. Needless to say, my point here is that right now, if the DFL is going to continue their holdout in the state House of Representatives, that could potentially last into the month of March. And I guess my question would be, is there political will for all 66 DFL members of the House, minus, of course, that open seat in Curtis Johnson's old district, is there political will for them to hold out until that long? Because as I understand it, it will only take one member of the DFL caucus to, well, basically go through and work out a deal with Republicans where they would potentially have a quorum, no dispute within the courts, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's an important question here. Would they hold out until a much later special election and face continued attacks for quote unquote not showing up to work, even though I think they have a strong argument to make that they're not going to show up to work to have the Republicans usurp legitimate authority. So a lot will depend on how the Supreme Court rules. If the court says you need 68 for a quorum, then they have the option of continuing to hold out. Then I think they might go to the Republicans and say, all right, look, you don't have a quorum. You don't get a quorum until we all come in. But if you give us some assurance on the tab key situation and that you'll seat him, remember that's the contested seat in the South Metro, and then we're not going to have another special election on that one, then we'll give you control of the House until the special election in the North Metro in March or whatever it is. So I think both sides here have a lot riding on this court case for sure. And then I think depending on the outcome of that court case, you've got another negotiation. If Republicans win the Supreme Court, then I think it's over. They have quorum with 67, and now Democrats head back to the House with their tails between their legs.
Well, that's at least what's happening on the state House of Representatives side of the Minnesota State Legislature. Let's move ahead to the state Senate, where things are at least maybe a little more cordial as compared to the House. And one potential controversy, well, actually one actual controversy we currently have in the state representatives currently has to do with DFL Senator Nicole Mitchell, who was charged with burglary last year and is potentially either facing pressure to resign or even a future expulsion from the state Senate. But what's important in the case of Nicole Mitchell is that a judge recently ruled that she will not face trial for her burglary case until after the legislative session. So I guess my question would be, why did the judge rule this way? Because as I understand it, there is a statute that does protect legislatures from members of the legislature from facing trial while they are currently in session.
Yeah, the idea is that the constituents deserve representation, even if the member is on trial. If they are on trial, then they would not really have any representation during that time because they can't vote during that time. And there's a longstanding legal precedent on this, so the decision was not particularly surprising. It's a little surprising that she availed herself of it because now she's really put her DFL colleagues in a tough position here because they have said repeatedly they would not expel her to move forward on the ethics complaint without due process in the courts. So now she's delaying until the end of the session, and they're sort of saddled with this difficult situation. and Republicans have said she should not be allowed to vote. And so it's just going to be a long slog for Senate Democrats who are have just a one-seat majority after a special election in Northeast Minneapolis to replace the late Kerry Dietzich. But this is just a total albatross for the Democrats. And by delaying I think there was probably some hope that there was going to be a trial this month, and there would be at least some finality to the whole situation. She would either get convicted, in which case you could expel her, or she would not, in which case you could probably do some kind of ethics action. But the point is that the chamber would move on, but now it's just sitting there, and Republicans are saying, well, she doesn't deserve it, she shouldn't be able to vote, and so forth. And so it's a really ugly political situation. They've encouraged her to resign. They've stripped her of committee assignments. They don't let her caucus with them anymore. I'm speaking of the Democrats. But she is just very stubborn in her insistence that she go to trial and to continue to serve her constituents. So I've been told, this is secondhand from sources at the Capitol, that there's some DFL senators who are ready to move on this question and are really reconsidering whether or not they ought to expel her. So we'll see if that may have been a kind of quick, impulsive response to her delaying the trial, and maybe they've reconsidered over the weekend. But I know late last week there's some DFL senators, I'm told, who really just lost patience and are ready to move. But to expel a member is very difficult. You need 2/3.
Well, I imagine you would probably have all Republicans voting in favor of expulsion, but even if that vote were to take place, I would imagine they would probably try to delay that until after they have that special election to fill the late Kerry Dietrich's special election seat, to make sure that there would at least be a tie or a majority for DFLers. But let's say an expulsion does happen after Kerry Dietrich's seat is then filled. We would potentially go back to a 33-33 tie in the state Senate until another special election to potentially fill Nicole Mitchell's seat. Talking about a lot of potentials right here, but I imagine we would go back to a power sharing agreement in the state Senate if that were to all occur, correct? Or is that even still looking way too far ahead?
No, that's right. And then, you'd have a special election in Woodbury, and I think that's pretty solidly Democratic these days, but you never know. And it's, not an inner rig suburb. It's a sort of like mid-tier suburb, and special elections you really never know who's going to turn out. So that may be another risk. What if they were to expel her, and they would literally destroy their own majority if they lost the special election? So it would be a very high stakes move. On the other hand, sticking with her certainly has made governing very difficult since it happened last April.
We'll follow along with all of these court cases that are happening that are impacting control of the state legislature over at MinnesotaReformer.com. MinnesotaReformer.com. Great way to keep track of what's happening, because control is very much up in the air for the State House of Representatives and potentially even in the Senate if they go to another split majority, where we would have potentially another 33-33 stalemate and a power sharing agreement. I want to briefly touch on another story you guys have worked on, and this is from Chris Ingram, talking about what's happening in Crookston in the northwestern part of Minnesota, and specifically Polk County, where Crookston is located. So Polk County accounts for almost half of the state's drug-free zone possession charges, despite only having 0.5% of the state's population. Again, that's a crazy number. They're accounting for almost half of the state's drug-free zone possession charges, despite only having 0.5% of the population. Now, these laws enhance penalties for drug offenses near places like schools, parks, and other public places. And as I kind of alluded to, are not frequently used in other parts of Minnesota, well, except for Polk County. Well, now civil liberties advocates and criminal defense attorneys argue that these drug-free zones are unfairly targeting vulnerable individuals and worsening incarceration rates in Polk County. So, can you explain exactly what exactly a drug-free zone is and how it's defined under Minnesota state law? Because as we were talking about, it's led to a very high incarceration rate in Polk County as compared to the rest of the state.
Drug-free zones went into effect kind of in the Reagan era war on drugs. Actually, it was proposed by a Democrat. And the idea was crack down on people who are using or possessing around schools and playgrounds, parks, and so forth. The problem is that it can be badly abused by the prosecutor, as it seems to be in this case, where they're saying even if you drive by a park, in one case, we got a couple of guys who were using, and they were at one of the kids' parents' houses. The parents live across from a park, therefore they're in a drug-free zone. It seems like it's not really with how the law was intended, and in retrospect, I'm not even sure it's good law. But in this, they've managed to make it almost impossible to use drugs and not be in a drug-free zone in this one county. And as you mentioned, 40% of the charges in the entire drug-free zone charges and the possession charges in the entire state come from this one county that makes up 0.5% of the population. So it's really clear pattern here. And on the conviction side, it's 61% of the convictions statewide versus, again, less than 1% of the state population. And as a result, no surprise, I guess, they have a much higher incarceration rate. They share incarceration with two other counties, but they have if you add them all up, it's triple the state incarceration average. So it's pretty clear what's going on here. The county attorney, who's run unopposed, I think since his first election more than 20 years ago, has decided to use this wrinkle in the law, these drug-free zones, to impose much longer sentences on drug offenders than any other county attorney in the state. And so you can see why civil liberties advocates and people who care about the drug problem and what we're supposed to be doing about it have taken notice. And really great reporting by Chris. And I hope your readers will check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some just crazy stories about what's happening in Polk County where basically if you get pulled over, even an innocent question by the officers asking what route you took to get to where you are going could come back to bite you if you happen to pass one of those drug-free zones. They could retroactively charge you with being in a drug-free zone and then face those enhanced charges. So encourage you to check that out. Final question on this has to do with, well, has there been any significant legal challenges in Polk County with their use of drug-free zones? And I'm curious what kind of outcomes we've seen from court challenges in terms of these drug-free zones in Polk County.
Yeah, I mean, they've defense attorneys have tried to make the case that this is an equal protection violation. It's an important clause in the United States Constitution. And the argument is, well, just because you cross over into this one county, all of a sudden you're facing far stiffer sentences because they've made the entire county almost a drug-free zone. And surely this violates equal protection. And the judges have rejected that. And I mean, most problematic, I guess, is if a appellate judge said, if voters disagree with the decisions made by the county attorney's office, they can voice that opinion in the ballot box. So that's quite a lot of both confidence and responsibility to put into the voters of Polk County. So we'll have to see if this garners a more robust defense of the equal protection clause in the future.
Well, glad you guys uncovered this story, and Chris Ingram, of course, did an excellent job reporting on this because, as we talked about earlier, this sheriff in Polk County has basically been running unopposed since 2002. So we'll see if a little more focus on that could change things in Polk County and at least draw more attention, because this certainly seems like it's been flying under the radar, not just in Polk County, but really the entire state of Minnesota. So I encourage you to check out that great reporting over at MinnesotaReformer.com. We have been speaking with the editor-in-chief of the Minnesota Reformer, that's Patrick Hooligan, about some of the latest stories that they've been working on. Again, make sure you go to MinnesotaReformer.com to support the great reporting they do. Patrick, as always, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's take a break and send things back over to Matt McNeil on AM 950.
Minnesotans are hardy. We don't let snow or ice get in our way. We have places to go. So making sure your vehicle is in prime shape for winter driving is so important. Take your vehicle to Rudy Luther Toyota for all your service needs. I was just there. I got my oil and filters replaced, and they did a complete safety check to make sure my vehicle can tackle winter. And they service all makes and models of vehicles. Head to rudyluthertoyota.com and use their super easy Toyota service schedule to set up your service appointment today. Rudy Luther Toyota on the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Attention event planners and festival organizers. This is Frank Brown from Minuteman Press Uptown, your union print shop partner for your next event. We're here to check items off your list and make your event the talk of the town. From stunning banners and eye-catching signage to programs, tickets, and name badges, we print everything. Get promotional products at prices that let you load up on merch and fill those swag bags. Make your event unforgettable with Minuteman Uptown. Visit us at mpuptown.com.
Are you struggling with cognitive decline, post-COVID brain fog, ADHD, concussion, tremors from Parkinson's, mental health issues, or simply striving to optimize your brain's potential? Hypercharge Wellness Brain Health specifically offers cutting-edge modalities including quantitative EEG, transcranial laser, red light therapy, all which work holistically, amplifying focus and cognitive functions. Utilizing these modalities in tandem enhances neural activities, optimizes the brain's electrical patterns, reduces anxiety, and enhances relaxation, ensuring a comprehensive approach to brain health optimization. All are invited to experience this life-changing journey towards achieving optimal cognitive and emotional well-being. Call or schedule online your free Hypercharge Wellness introductory session valued at $200 today. This is your opportunity to feel the difference for yourself. No matter where you are in the Twin Cities, there's a convenient location near you. Visit hyperchargeclinic.com now. Check out our 5-star reviews on our website. Hypercharge is hope.
When addiction takes hold, it's easy to feel like no one can help. But you're not in this alone. For 75 years, Hazelden Betty Ford has been at the forefront of addiction and mental health care, evolving treatment, reimagining recovery, and breaking through barriers to help families everywhere find healing. So please reach out at 855-489-2383. Help is here. Sponsored by Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation and aired by the Minnesota Broadcasters Association and this station.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. A slight chance of snow tonight, temperatures up to 14, but wind chills of minus 12 possible. Then Wednesday, cloudy with a high of 27. Catch Caleb Herron at the Fillmore in Minneapolis on March 9th. One of America's top gay comedians, Caleb brings his So True tour to town with sharp humor and big laughs. Tickets on sale this Friday at Ticketmaster.com.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Nice to be with you here on your Tuesday. We got to stay together. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Meanwhile, let's get out from the avalanche of horrific nature that is Trump on the federal level and kind of look at how horrible the Republicans are being here in the state of Minnesota. The House Republicans have filed a response to the 2 DFL lawsuits that asked the state Supreme Court to weigh in on the legislative proceedings of the House Democrats continue to attempt to block a quorum. I'm going to just say this from the get-go. Their response seems to point to me that they know that if you look at this as a constitutional issue, that they're going to lose. And really, yeah, I'll get to this. The petition responds to separate cases brought by the Secretary of State, Steve Simon, and House Democrats to ask the Minnesota Supreme Court to dismiss both lawsuits on grounds they lack standing, not the House Democrats or Steve Simon, but the Supreme Court does, and that the other branches of government should not be arbitrator of how the legislature conducts its business. Basically, I should say they lack standing. They're referring to the Democratic lawsuit and the Steve Simon, but basically that also the Supreme Court, that even though this is a constitutional issue, that it's their job, the political party that's trying to gain control, it's their job as the only arbitrator of what the Constitution says. That is their argument. That's not going to win. That's what you call, folks, a tell. The parties to this dispute and Minnesota voters have all the tools they need to resolve it themselves, the filing states. Judicial interference is unnecessary and unwarranted. Both the DFL lawsuits asked the Supreme Court to declare a quorum in the House of Representatives fixed at 68 members rather than the majority of elected members. A successful election contest in District 40B vacated that seat, handing the Republicans a 67-66 advantage. Steve Simon was asked to the court to uphold the stance of the Secretary of State as presiding officer in the House until the quorum is present to conduct business. And basically what it comes down to, and if you've not read the letter that Steve Simon did, which once again, he did his due diligence on this issue. The state constitution very clearly specifies when it's the number of people who show up, not the number of seats. There are multiple cases in the Constitution where it says just the margin of people that are there, if 50 people show up, a mere majority is the decider. That's not what it says when it comes to quorum. It says a majority of seats. The Republicans are the ones who are adding a whole bunch of words that are not there to the Constitution to justify their stance, which is not going well for them. So what it is this: you need to have 68 people there. I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean, there was also, once again, there was a Supreme Court ruling on this before, because there was another case, and I do believe it was the Republicans then as well, who said that the 2/3 for a specific voting procedure didn't mean seats; it meant amount of people that were there. And they said, no, it very clearly, the Constitution tells you when it's just the number of people that are there. They didn't in this case, and they ruled against them. So there's already precedent here. So this is why the Republicans are trying to paint this already as the Supreme Court interfered with us and stopped us. That's all this is. I mean, once again, I really get the impression the Republicans, this whole filing is an admission they're likely not going to win this. And so they're trying to paint it as, oh, that evil Supreme Court. They should have, how dare they overstep their bounds? And once again, their argument is that as a political party, not as the House, but as a political party, that they are the only true arbitrators of what the Constitution does and does not say. So on the first day of the sessions, and once again, the quirk of the law, Secretary of State is basically rules over the House, and basically takes scroll, and if there's not a quorum, he gavels it closed. They basically grabbed the hammer, started, we're open for business, we're all in charge. Give the majority leader as much money for his law partner buddies as possible. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but I mean, it's kind of there. Republicans argue that Simon, a member of the executive branch, should not be able to dictate how or when a chamber of the legislative branch conducts business. Now, once again, the Constitution is pretty clear on this. The Secretary of State, if there is a tie, goes in there, does anything. If there's a quorum, then they can get around business and they can fight in this. The problem that he has is if there's no quorum, he can't authorize the House to go into session. So he gavels it closed and goes home. Then comes back the next day. Do they have a no, they don't. All right. They also say it's appropriate for the judicial branch to act as a referee, the filing states. So that basically that they can't question they can be able to question the Constitution, and nobody else can ever question their changing this. The only way you can do that is to vote them out of power. That's their argument, which they're not in power. They're tied. But God, has there ever been a group of people that have always like, we're in charge. We're in charge. Nope. Republican respondents also argue that more than a century of legal precedent supports their claim that the Minnesota Constitution clearly defines a majority in each house as the legislators, the majority of the elected members, in this case, 67 of 133 elected representatives. Additionally, they say Democrats are seeking extraordinary relief for a situation resulting in their own wrongdoing. The alleged lack of quorum raises, actually, it doesn't say that. It does not say the majority of elected members. It says number of seats. It does say that. They're just making it up at this point. The alleged lack of quorum arises entirely because the legislators' petitioners are failing in their duty to appear at the legislative session, and because the Secretary of State, by a painfully unconstitutional assertion of unilateral control of the House, is seeking to block the constitutional ability of those members who showed up to work to compete the attendance of others. You have to have 68 people there. You are the ones who are trying to redo this whole thing and argue that there is, you don't have to have 68. We can just we can have 20 people here, and if that's good enough. The House Democrats and Simon have till 9 a.m. tomorrow to file their response. The oral arguments are on Thursday afternoon. So no, it's pretty clear. If you read the letter, it says seats. And once again, the Constitution is also very clear when it's not seats, that it's just the number of people showing up. It states that. So what they want to make sure it's basically, and like I said, the fact that when I want to go back to the right terminology here, I want to make sure I'm using the right terminology. The petitioner response to separate cases brought by the Secretary of State and the House Democrats that they should be dismissed on both lawsuits on grounds that they lack standing, that the other branches of government should not be arbitrator. How dare you judge what we do? That's basically what it is. That to me seems to be very cleanly them saying, stay out of this. Let us do what we want to do. Once again, the same Republicans who last week praised the Minnesota Supreme Court for basically interfering in the House. That's the part of these DeMuth and these rest of these clowns. Last week, the same Republican Party was like, yay, thank you, Minnesota Supreme Court, for injecting yourself into the Minnesota House. Yay! Thank you for injecting yourself into the executive branch. Yay! And now they're saying, how dare you come in here? Your own arguments are hilarious. Hilarious. Unless I see something shocking here, like there's a copy of the Constitution on the back of the Constitution. If it's something like that, I think this is a pretty open and shut case. We'll have to see how it goes, but we'll have to, obviously that's another thing playing out this week. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Take a break. Come on back. I got to get to the Minnesota farmers. Wait a second. Trump's going to hurt us. Oh, for God's sakes. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Start the new year with nonstop laughs at Brave New Workshop's Big Christmas Energy. This holiday tradition, now running through January, is packed with sketches and songs to keep the laughs going. Enjoy new sketches and perennial favorites, including their unforgettable take on the 12 Days of Christmas. Whether you're recovering from awkward holiday conversations or just looking for a good time, Big Christmas Energy will leave you smiling. Catch Big Christmas Energy Thursdays through Saturdays in January at Brave New Workshop in Minneapolis. Get tickets at bravenewworkshop.org.
It's no secret that medical care costs are soaring, with nursing home and skilled nursing care costs being some of the highest. You don't have to deplete your savings in order to receive long-term care. At Schroman Law, we work with families to develop and implement strategic planning for medical assistance for long-term care, for assisted living, nursing home care, or home-based care. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hi, I'm Mary T, inviting you to experience our integrative Mary T Health and Wellness Center, offering physical, occupational, speech, and lymphedema therapies. Experience our guided imagery, meditation, Tibetan medicine, dry needling, massage services, including cupping and oncology massage. Sign up for our free wellness screenings and learn more at marytwellness.com. All major health insurance providers are accepted. Come for therapy, experience wellness.
Crooners is a classic supper club with a wide range of entertainment. Make your reservations for a parade of international, national, and local artists in the main stage showroom, the intimate Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the seasonal Belvedere Under the Stars space. Or enjoy Maggie's Piano Lounge, no reservation or cover charge. Enjoy 4-star food and drinks with first-class supper club service. What are you waiting for? Go to croonersmn.com for more information and schedule. That's croonersmn.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show. By the way, God, last night, I went outside about 10 o'clock last night. It was minus 19 or something like that. Yeah, that one will wake you up. It was extra crispy. That's right. We went from crispy to extra crispy, although it's warming up nicely now. From windmills to cow pastures, Minnesota farmers may seem far from the global markets, but with access to the sea in Duluth, Mississippi River ports and rail heads west of the Pacific, crops coming from Minnesota farms reach to every corner of the earth. They also remain extra vulnerable to trade sable rattling. A lot of the ag production in the upper Midwest is exported, said Jay Depperton, from the CEO of Inver Grove Heights-based CHS. He basically, on the Federal Reserve Conference in Minneapolis, if trade flows become interrupted, we have fundamental problem of what we're going to do with the crop. Still, it's not as if are throwing roses for the outgoing president administration. Spending accelerated on farm programs to curb climate change, but the Democratic president's link to inflation drew farmers' ire as prices on fertilizer and diesel skyrocketed. Meanwhile, wait for you were upset about those prices. Wait a few weeks. It's going to be nuts. Meanwhile, tough crop prices spiked through Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Grain values are now low. There's been no trade deal in years. We saw some deals started under George W. Bush that were finalized under the Obama administration, but in the last decade, we've seen it was changing how the U.S. approaches trade. Earlier this month, the strip mall meeting room in Dilworth, just east of Fargo, a small grains conference put on by groups including the University of Minnesota Extension and Minnesota Wheat. A PowerPoint slide from Alexander Investor noted corn prices started cratered towards $3 a bushel under Trump. He remembers that time well. The U.S. Department of Agriculture payments then arrived to offset his losses. Yeah, the Trump bucks put me in a different tax bracket, all the money he threw at us. Whether the federal government could unleash those payments again remains an open question. Minnesota producers say the state's domestic markets buffer farmers from some trouble abroad. Darren Johnson, a soybean farmer from outside of Wells, says he remembers tales of soybeans piling up outside of elevators back in 2018. But in south central Minnesota, the prevalence of the local processing facilities and hog farms allowed farmers to weather the storm. In southern Minnesota, we are pretty lucky to have so many processing facilities near us. The market that we have here is a lot of ways stays right here. Still, he knows it represents a sliver of the industry. Half of Minnesota's exports, go to China, Canada, Mexico. Wait a second. Why have those countries come up lately? Oh, that's right. Trump has today, I think it's actually today, said he's going to impose his tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico. There you go. And under Trump, as well as Biden, who keep tariffs on the Chinese imports in place, farmers have found it's just as easy for China to send a boat to Brazil to buy beans than sending one to the United States Pacific coastways. 1 out of 3 rows of soybeans in Minnesota are going to China. We're looking for trade, not aid. And so basically they're all of a sudden they've stopped and they thought to themselves, hey, you remember the last time that nobody wanted our product? Yeah, that was under Donald Trump. And the same guy who said, I'm going to torpedo all your markets. We're going to put tariffs on their products, which once again, that doesn't affect the Canadian companies. The Canadian companies, the Canadian producers, they're not the ones paying the tariffs. The Americans that get the product are. And so you're basically, what you're saying is we're going to create a vacuum for Mexican, Chinese, and Canadian products in the United States to where no one will want to buy them. But the Canadians, the Mexicans, and the Chinese are all going to keep their markets wide open for us, winning. And that's not how it works. And once again, I'm going to repeat something I said earlier, which is the reason why Justin Trudeau is no longer going to be the Prime Minister of Canada is because his country felt as if he was being too nice to Trump when he tried to explain tariffs to him. Frankly, let's put it this way. Canada and Mexico are becoming much more popular countries than the United States on the world stage. It really is just a fact. And trust me, I can tell you from Europe that most of the European countries look at us as complete idiots for voting for Trump again. Seriously. Most of them look at us as complete morons for doing this. So, if you're sitting to yourself saying, you need us more than we need you, trust me, the rest of the world saying, hey, we'll help you out. I don't think Canada or Mexico is necessarily going to be hurt at all by this. I think they'll find other markets for their products. The question you have for yourself is, will the United States find other markets for their products? And I'm sure Donald Trump will go to like Trinidad and Tobago, something like that, and say, they're willing to take 12 bushels of our crops. Isn't that it? I've solved the ag problem. I'm serious. That's what he's going to do. He's going to say, hey, look, Senegal, they're going to take 14 gallons of milk from us. I've solved the ag problem. That's what he's going to do. And you know who's really going to suffer for it? You idiots that voted for this, because it wasn't like he hid any of this. He kept saying over and 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 over again that he was going to cut off your markets. And you went, yay, yay, do it, because you didn't vote for the man. You voted to hurt other people, because that's all you guys are now. You're the party that just wants to see other people suffer as opposed to seeing you benefit from good policy. And so reap, sow. These are terms you should understand in the ag sector. You're going to reap what you sow. And you guys sitting there having your PowerPoint presentations in the local hotel conference room, trying to pat each other on the back saying, we did the right thing, didn't we? No, you didn't, you idiots. You voted against your own well-being. You notice when this guy said this, I remember the piles of soybeans outside of the co-ops there back in 2018. You know what you didn't have? Was pile of soybeans outside of co-ops in 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. But hey, get ready. Piles are coming back. And you're not getting any margins. And a government that is insisting they are going to cut back on spending for the people, now you're begging them for more Trump bucks. Good luck on that. Your money is going to go to the billionaires and the millionaires. Idiots, you voted for this. Native Roots Radio is up next. Have a good one. We're back tomorrow. Till then, see ya.
Winter is here. Ramsey County winter